Welcome to Buddhism for everybody. My name is Tim. I'm going to talk to you today about thinking, specifically positive thinking and negative thinking. In a previous video, I spoke about Buddha's first teaching, the Four Noble Truths. And in another video, I spoke about thinking, meaning thinking is who and what we are as beings. And the full phrase for this is single present moment thinking only. This is the Buddhist definition of beings. And as sentient beings, not yet enlightened, we have strong ego clinging. There's also a previous video about this ego clinging. In this video, I will be making references to these topics. So to better understand why I believe the things I'm going to say, it's very helpful to refer to these previous videos. The Four Noble Truths are talking about a lot of things, but at the center of them, they are about thinking, what thinking does. For us, our thinking is cause. And as cause, thinking has the power to produce results. And because this thinking is occurring in every present moment, we experience results in every present moment. I have referred to thinking as having, in the most simple description, two modes, positive thinking and negative thinking. I'd like to start adding more detail and definition to these categories. At the center of every goal and every decision we make, there is always wanting happiness and not wanting suffering. Buddha taught that positive thinking is the cause of happiness and negative thinking is the cause of suffering. Present moment thinking has two main categories or qualities, positive and negative, and synonyms for these can include good and bad, beneficial and harmful, virtuous and non-virtuous. Positive thinking is beneficial, virtuous, and results in desirable experiences. Negative thinking is harmful, non-virtuous, and results in undesirable experiences. If you look at the three doors, known as body, speech, and mind, it is always mind or thinking which determines all the acts of body and all speech. And within mind or thinking, there is intention. Intention is always what determines either the positive or the negative, because it is the root cause. It is the intention to either produce benefit or to produce harm. They are like two different waves of energy, positive and negative, each containing a vast spectrum of variations. Within these two basic categories of positive and negative, there are many subcategories, details, and combinations that can be engaged in. Thinking is habitual and tends to repeat familiar patterns. Each being will have their own specific and unique habits and trends. The traditional negative categories are known as the three poisons: ignorance, anger, and greed. Sometimes you'll see different words for these. And these can be expanded for more detail into the five negative thinkings, which are anger, jealousy, greed, pride, and ignorance. And the root of jealousy is anger, and the root of pride is ignorance. So that goes back to the three poisons. These five negative thinkings each have their antidotes, or opposites, which are the five positive thinkings. They are renunciation, compassion, faith, love, and wisdom. The structure of positive and negative is describing three things simultaneously. First, it is the mode of thinking being engaged in. Second, it is one's direct experience in that very moment of either happiness or suffering, which is determined by the thinking being engaged in. And third, it is the karma that is created as the result of the thinking being engaged in. This karma will either ripen as some experience in the future, or it will be antidoted. Let's look at the five categories of negative thinking and give the labels and definitions. So we have anger. Anger is the most outwardly destructive negative thinking. It is also the most easy to identify. We can feel it This thinking says, that person, experience, or object out there, over there, that is the cause of my suffering, and I must destroy it because I don't want suffering. Jealousy. Jealousy is a more specific form of anger, but it's given its own category in the tradition I was trained in. Jealousy has two modes. The first says, I don't like it when you are happy, because your happiness is the cause of my suffering. And the second mode says, I do like it when you suffer, because your suffering is the cause of my happiness. Jealousy is not so easy to spot. It can be hidden like some secret kind of thinking. Of course, others can never be the cause for our suffering or happiness, only conditions. But jealousy is completely irrational. We should be glad for the happiness of others and never find joy in their suffering. The third one is greed. Greed is chasing happiness and then clinging to it, squeezing it when we obtain it. Greed can be for objects, relationships, or any experiences we may find enjoyable. The root thinking in greed is, my cause of happiness exists out there. It is always out there. It's external. It is not my positive thinking. It is something else. And to be happy, I must pursue and obtain this external thing. And further, if I do obtain it, I can never let it go. I have to squeeze it, cling to it fiercely, because if I don't, I will lose my happiness. This topic is described more in the video Cause and Condition. But the core mistake is believing the cause of happiness is external. It is not. Those things are only conditions. Enjoying good things is not the problem. It's very important to be clear on this. The problem is obsessively chasing and squeezing them. It is the greed thinking. The cause of happiness is positive thinking. It's not something else. Fourth one is pride. Pride is at its root a belief that I do not change, clinging to the ego entity as permanent. And pride takes two forms, and they are opposite in their reason as to why we may believe in this permanence of oneself. The first is called hot pride. Hot pride, which is believing oneself to be without flaw or shortcomings. Hot pride says, I don't need to change, I am already perfect. This belief is at the core of accepting only the ideas one already holds and rejecting anything that disputes or contradicts. You can think of this as narcissism. If it disagrees with me, then it's wrong, because I don't make mistakes. I'm perfect. I know everything. There's nothing for you to teach me. That's hot pride. The second pride is called cold pride. Instead of believing oneself to be without flaw, it is the belief one has some unchangeable fundamental flaw, that one is unworthy. This belief then says, there is no point in trying to improve myself, because I am permanently broken. Why bother? It's hopeless. It is giving up before even making the attempt. So both versions of pride, the hot and the cold, create a permission structure to reject change. We tend to become attached to comfort, and this comfort can be just rejecting change in ourselves and how we view ourselves. Pride is the category of negative thinking that describes this. Rejecting change is also a form of ignorance, because everything can and must change sooner or later. It is the universal law of impermanence. The more we fight this, the more we will suffer. And this leads to the root negative thinking, ignorance. Ignorance is used as a verb. It is actively engaging in the ignoring of truth. Specifically, it is these three truths: that we are single present moment thinking only, that we have We all have Buddha nature, which is true happiness, and the law of karma, the natural law of cause and effect, which is infallible. Those three things are being actively ignored. That is ignorance. In the previous videos, I've spoken about the first two, and karma will soon get its own dedicated presentation. So when I refer to these categories of thinking, it is using these definitions. They're specific. They speak to the root of the intention. It may be helpful to write down these definitions to avoid confusion if you watch more of these videos. Now let's do the same for the 5 categories of positive thinking. First is renunciation. And what we renounce is our own negative thinking. What we renounce is anger, jealousy, greed, pride, and ignorance. When we see it, we say, I don't want that. It's the thinking of, I do not want my negative thinking. May my negative thinking not arise. As one of the positive thinkings, renunciation is the antidote to pride. The second positive thinking category is compassion. Compassion, as defined here, is wanting others to be free from suffering, not liking the suffering of others and wanting it to end. And compassion is the antidote or the opposite of anger. The third category is faith. And this faith is not in something external. It is not blind faith. Faith says, I like my positive thinking and I want to increase it. I want to do more positive thinking. Faith is an important topic on its own, especially because this definition of faith is quite different. And other kinds of faith can creep into Buddhism in various ways, and they need to be understood clearly. So there's a marked distinction here. This kind of faith is the antidote to greed. Faith sees that the cause of happiness is positive thinking. Hence, I want to increase that. Then we have love. Love is wanting others to have happiness. Love sees the happiness of others as good, something to increase. And love is the antidote to, or opposite, of jealousy. And then we come to wisdom, the fifth. Wisdom is clearly the opposite of ignorance. It is not ignoring, but acknowledging the 3 truths. They are, we are single present moment thinking only, and we all have Buddha nature, true happiness, and the law of karma, the natural law of cause and effect, which is infallible. These are the 3 wisdoms. And wisdom, as you can surmise, is the antidote of ignorance. So we have 2 sets of 5, the 5 negative and the 5 positive, and they do have further details. They get broken down into more and more subcategories. But as the main building blocks of knowing oneself, of seeing oneself, and then improving oneself, they are indispensable. In these videos, I will refer to them again and again, because to understand the 4 Noble Truths, we need to understand thinking, as the 4 Noble Truths are ultimately always about thinking. In our lived experiences, all possible thinking, karma, and phenomena are placed somewhere on the spectrum of positive or negative. As we experience phenomena, it will have a mix of positive and negative, which is represented by the ripening karma in any particular moment. I'll speak more about that when we get to karma. And the positive thinking is the mode of connecting with our true nature, happiness. The negative mode is moving away from this, towards more ego cleaning, more ignorance. The negative will be some level of ignoring the Buddha qualities all of us have, and obscuring ourselves from seeing and experiencing it. One of the questions that comes up fairly frequently is there such thing as neutral thinking? This would be a mode of functioning that is neither positive or negative. Now, this may seem like a nuance, but it's an understandable question. But what Buddha nature or true happiness means is we are either moving closer to it or further from it. In some sense, one could claim that there may be no movement at all, and this is neutral. If one is not moving towards Buddha or true happiness, there is no benefit. It may not be increasing the harm, but it is delaying the progress, and there is no added benefit. And the longer one delays benefit, the more opportunities there are to engage in habitual negative thinking. Negative thinking can be sneaky. It can creep up on us because we can be so accommodated to it that we don't notice it. That's part of what Buddhist practice is about, learning to identify it quicker. Neutral would imply a mode which is neither connecting more with Buddha nature nor connecting less with it. The deciding factor will be the intention in that moment. If one is not intending to move toward Buddha nature, then at a minimum it is an intention of ignorance. And when ignorance is being engaged, it invites ego clinging and all the other negative habits. Another explanation of why neutral thinking is not valid is if neutral were a third category, positive, negative, then neutral, there would have to be a whole new continuum of experiences within relative truth to accommodate this third category of thinking. It would require a new category of karma and phenomena, which is neither positive, negative, or some mix of the two. Something entirely different with its own proprietary qualities and experiences. It would not align with either happiness or suffering, because this neutral category would not have those qualities. If neutral did have those qualities, it could not be neutral. So going back to intention, every decision and every choice is based on thinking that has either positive or negative qualities. In some examples, it may take some investigation through layers of thinking and contemplation to determine what the intention actually is. And we can use the system of the 6 benefits to reveal this. And the 6 benefits will be in a future video as well. Also, we can hold the belief that thinking is simultaneously a mix of both positive and negative. Now here I'm saying simultaneous, not concurrent, together, not separated. But what is actually occurring is a very rapid shift from one to the other. The object that thinking is focused on is always changing. Thinking is jumping from one object to another. And when that jumping is rapid enough, one can believe that there is more than one thought occurring at the same time. But in each present moment, there is only one object, one conceptual thinking. We may perceive our rapid object shifting and shifting as being simultaneous, combining 2 thoughts together. But really, it isn't. They're still concurrent. A common way that people may experience this can be called multitasking. So think of it as doing 2 or more activities at the same time. Are you actually doing them both? Well, the focus of thinking during these activities is jumping back and forth rapidly. In any moment, the object of focus is just one task. When the jumping is rapid enough, our experiences can seem to be simultaneous. Here's another example. Imagine having both like and dislike towards someone or something. There may be qualities that I like and don't like in that person or that thing. It doesn't mean they are both present at the same time. It means thinking is bouncing back and forth. Now I'm thinking about what I like. Now I'm thinking about what I don't like. Now, this is all dense material to learn. I want to acknowledge that. It takes some time to absorb the meaning, to apply it and see how is it relevant to ourselves. As the presenter, I have to make some decision about how much to include, what order, and so on. I don't know of any ideal way to do it. What works for one person isn't the same for others. So if this is challenging for you, all I can offer is, it really should be, because we don't think about these things in our culture. It took me years of study years of dismantling old ways of thinking. These are profound topics, but I really believe they have enormous benefit if we have the patience to keep looking, keep contemplating, and ask ourselves questions. Watch the videos as many times as you like. Repeating something is never a waste of time with these topics. What you notice from one viewing to the next is likely to be quite different. My experience of hearing teachings on the same topic is each time I got something different out of it. In any case, I hope this has been beneficial, and thank you for watching Buddhism for Everyone.